Thanks so much for joining us. The Supreme Court hears arguments today on President Biden's controversial vaccine mandates. The fate of more than 80 million American workers hangs in the balance.
The mandate has sparked nationwide protests and multiple lawsuits, fueled by speculation about how far the government can go in a national emergency. CBN's Brody Carter reports.
A deepening divide over vaccine mandates has worked its way through the legal system, reaching the High Court. The justice's decision could set a precedent in a balance between personal freedom and the government's power to act in a crisis.
What's at stake is whether or not our federal government can claim vast, expansive powers in times of emergency.
Justices will hear arguments on the constitutionality of President Biden's emergency executive order, forcing private businesses with 100 or more employees to submit to mandatory vaccinations or face weekly testing.
And the answer to that surely has to be no. Otherwise, this concept of a limited federal government of enumerated powers has really been stretched to the breaking point.
Attorney Ryan Bangert with Alliance Defending Freedom says the vaccine mandate case is moving swiftly. OSHA first announced how it would enforce the mandate in November, which was immediately challenged in court. The Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals then froze the mandate and lifted the stay in December. Now the Supreme Court has agreed to step in.
If the court finds that the mandate should be stayed, then that would provide protection to our clients as well.
That decision would send the case back to the Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals, which is overseeing all consolidated legal challenges to vaccine mandates.
There's also the possibility the court could simply decide the merits of the entire case tomorrow. We just don't know how the court's going to ultimately decide to handle this.
If the mandate is reinstated, businesses not following the rules could face fines of more than $13,000 per violation.
February 9th is the deadline for full compliance with the testing requirement.
If the court lets this go forward, we will see a big shift in power in the federal government from Congress to the federal bureaucracy.
Doug Badger with the Heritage Foundation says the main issue is whether OSHA, an executive branch agency, can make federal law.
But they can only do things that Congress has empowered them to do. Congress has not empowered OSHA to impose a vaccine mandate on businesses with 100 or more employees.
Other cases pending review, which will not be judged today, include individual state mandates, religious objections to vaccines, and dozens of litigations representing firms, businesses, and religious entities opposed to OSHA's mandate. The Supreme Court is also reviewing a separate mandate that would impact roughly 17 million healthcare workers. In total, the High Court will determine the fate of vaccine requirements affecting more than 80 million people. Brody Carter, CBN News.
Well, for more on this story, Michael Sheetzeldt joins us now. He's a senior fellow at the Robertson Center for Constitutional Law at Regent University. So, Michael, tell us, walk us through, what are the issues before the court? What are the constitutional issues, the regulatory issues? Help us understand what's at stake.
Well, as the video just alluded to, Gordon, the main constitutional issue at stake is, what is the scope of the federal government's power? All of this is going to come down, honestly, to the scope of OSHA's power. So the first thing the court's going to look at isn't going to be constitutional at all. It's going to be the issue of how narrowly defined are OSHA's powers, and is this mandate within the scope of that power? And if the court decides that, yes, this mandate was within the scope of OSHA's power to pass, then the court will look at whether or not Congress actually had the power to delegate that and whether they did so in a constitutional manner.
Okay. Well, the courts have so far declined to block all state vaccine mandates. So does that have any bearing on this case at all?
I don't think it does. So a lot of people refer to a case called Jacobson from 1905, where this was considered a public health issue. And public health generally falls within the police powers, and the police power belongs to the state. The federal courts over and over have reiterated that the federal government does not possess a police power. So yes, the states can pass these vaccine mandates, but there's still an open question as to whether or not the federal government can. And of course, the question facing the court today is whether OSHA, in fact, has that power.
All right, well, handicap the case for us. What do you think are the possible outcomes, and what's the likely outcome after today's hearing?
That's it's always a tricky question, but I think the most likely outcome is that you're going to get a majority of the court that finds that this overstepped OSHA's power. I believe the dissent below in the Sixth Circuit by Judge Larson got it correct, that this was not necessary, that there were other measures that can be taken by OSHA, and that this probably steps outside of OSHA's focus on occupational health. It's not often that OSHA is able to pass a mandate that follows people home from the workplace. As Judge Larson pointed out below, you can make people wear flame retardant clothing at the office, but you can't make them wear flame retardant clothing around the clock to prevent fire injuries. So the most likely outcome is that the court will probably decide this on statutory grounds, and that this will be this will have been an overstepping of those boundaries that Congress provided.
Do you think that they're going to actually decide it on the merits, or are they going to issue some kind of mandate, then refer it back to the Sixth Circuit for more deliberation?
My guess would be that they're not going to decide this on the merits. So we're at this temporary, or I'm sorry, this preliminary injunction. They're trying to stay the enforcement of this mandate. And one of the factors in choosing whether or not to stay this, or deciding whether or not to stay the issue, is the likelihood of success on the merits. And so the court will have to find that if it does stay the vaccine mandate, it would have to find that the challengers are likely to prevail on the merits. So there is going to have to be some sort of analysis of the legal issues here, but I don't think that they will decide it. It will be a de facto decision on the merits. The court will set out its standard and interpret the law as it believes it should be, and no lower court's going to be willing to go against that, at least not in my opinion. Okay,
assuming they put a stay on it, what do you think the administration's response is going to be? Are they going to try to push some kind of legislation through Congress, and what would that mean?
That's a great question. I don't know what the administration might try to do. I think it would be foolhardy to consider or to continue to push this legislation, or sorry, to push this litigation. But there's always the chance that they could try to push something through Congress. Although, as we've seen, the president's political acumen right now seems to be the president has misjudged some of his policy initiatives and the support that he had in Congress. And so it would be interesting to see if there was support for this in both chambers of Congress.
Oh, well said. All right, Michael, thank you for joining us, and thanks for everything the Robertson Center is doing at Regent Law School.
Thank you, Gordon.
In other news, Iranian-backed forces launched 2 drone strikes against U.S. troops in Iraq this week. The Islamic regime wants all U.S. forces to leave the region, and they're threatening to keep up the attacks until they get what they want. Chuck Holton brings us the details.
On December 9th, 2021, the U.S.-led combat mission in Iraq came to an official end after 6,850 days. That momentous occasion, however, did not equal a ticket home for the 2,500 U.S. troops still stationed in the country. Neither did it signal a change of mission for 900 troops currently serving in Syria.
I expect that we will continue to provide some limited support to the Iraqis going forward. But again, it's going to be essentially, by and large, it's going to be a non-combatant process.
Remaining forces will pivot to a slightly different role, one they call advise and assist. They'll be providing support to Iraqi forces in the effort to stamp out the enduring vestiges of ISIS, which was officially defeated in 2017, but is lately making a comeback. One neighbor clearly wants the U.S. out of the region.
Bill pursues a vision of ejecting us from the theater, and they see the principal battleground for that as being in Iraq. And I believe they are under the view that they can increase friction in Iraq to where we will leave, and that will not affect the nuclear negotiations that are underway. That's not a military issue. That's an issue for U.S. national leadership. But I think it's a dangerous position for the Iranians to maintain, because I think they're not going to be able to decouple those two things.
Iran's president recently called for former President Trump and his top advisors to be charged with the 2020 killing of Iranian General Qasem Soleimani.
The then President of America, which is the main aggressor, murderer, and a criminal, must be prosecuted and killed. A sentence of God must be executed against him.
During this massive memorial held in Tehran on the anniversary of Soleimani's death, American and Israeli flags were burned and the familiar chant of "Death to America" echoed through the streets. Adding to regional instability, popular mobilization forces backed by Iran had been threatening violence if the U.S. did not pull out by the end of 2021. Now they're making good on those threats. Since the beginning of the year, missiles have been fired at U.S. bases in the region on an almost daily basis. So far, no injuries have been reported as the killer drones were brought down by counter-rocket, artillery, and mortar batteries, which can fire more than 4,000 rounds per minute. The U.S. is now striking back in retaliation, which shows the combat phase of this conflict might not be over after all. For CBN News, I'm Chuck Holton.
Well, I know we've been focused so much on the pandemic, on vaccinations, on masks, on the political divide in America that, let's get our head up out of that and look at what's going on around the world. In any other news cycle, this would be an absolutely dominating story, but you're not seeing it anywhere else. This is an act of war. They are firing missiles and killer drones against our troops in Iraq. Any other country that would, any other time in history where a leader of a sovereign country would call for the assassination of an ex-president, that would be front page news in every news outlet in the nation. But we're so distracted by our own internal problems that we can't even look at it and call it for what it is. This regime in Iran absolutely wants to destroy us. When they say the phrase "Great Satan," they're talking about you and me. They're talking about the United States. Israel's the little Satan. We're the big one, and we're the big target. So all of these negotiations of our nuclear capability and all of that, why are we negotiating with them? They're calling for us to be killed. They're sending missiles and drones against our troops. Enough of this. We need to come up out of whatever stupor we're in to wake up to the very real present threat that government poses, not just to the Middle East, not just to Europe, but to us here, right here in America. We need to wake up to it and call it for what it is. Terry?
She's a chemist with a PhD who hunts with a bow and once killed a bear while she was pregnant. Jennifer Hoyt Lally is also a woman who's faced some major health challenges. She says God healed her body and soul through hunting, prayer, and healthy eating. Wendy Griffith brings us Jennifer's unique story.
Before the sun rises, Jennifer Lally climbs in her tree stand with bow and arrow ready, patiently waiting. On this quiet morning, Jennifer pulls out her Bible. Although she loves going to church with her husband, Chris, she sees this tree stand as her chapel.
It's a place where I can go and be alone and really talk to God, and not just talk to God, but to look out amongst the beauty and the peacefulness. And once I started to really pray for others in the tree stand, that's when things started changing in our lives.
Jennifer, a nanotechnologist and lover of high heels, says for years her husband tried to get her to go hunting with him, but she had no interest. Then he bought her a bow.
We were trying to have children, and for years we were having problems, and my husband kept trying to encourage me, come out and hunt. And then finally one year he brought me a pink bow. I will tell you, I shot that bow and it was the most amazing feeling. So then he wanted me to hunt, and I said, I have no interest again. And I said, what would I do up there? I can't talk to anybody, can't wear heels, it's lonely. And so he said, just come with me, try it, you'll see. So he took me up for the first time, got me my hunting gear, And I got up into the tree stand, and it was an aha moment for me. It was life-changing. It was the first time that I had really slowed down.
Around this same time, doctors hit Jennifer with some bad news. She would need surgery to fix what's described as a paralyzed colon. The other diagnosis, it was official, she and Chris could not have children.
We went to see specialists, and it finally got to a point where they had said, you know, if things don't change, we would have to remove part of my colon.
Through extensive testing, Jennifer discovered she was not getting enough fiber and even gluten. She radically changed her diet from mostly meat to include lots of whole grains, including brown and wild rice.
So I have kind of the opposite problem of celiacs, but it made me want to learn more about what things could change my health, because I started to feel better as I ate the grains.
Jennifer's health dramatically improved, and she no longer needed surgery. She felt compelled to share what she learned in a book, Hunt and Gather, The Healing Powers of Whole Grains, Lean Meat, and Prayer.
I was finally at peace with not having children. I said, I'm just going to keep writing this book and have fun with it. I wanted to focus on the first two foods that were in the Bible, venison and grains, and then to bring everybody together.
But then a miracle happened. After 10 years of infertility, Jennifer and Chris conceived, and today have 2 beautiful children.
As I learned more about nutrition, it really healed my gut, it healed my soul, to the point that, you know, in addition to prayer, you know, it cured 10 years of infertility, and that's huge. I mean, it's more than a miracle.
As self-proclaimed carnivore, Jennifer says she's still a big fan of wild game, especially venison, which she and her family enjoy on a regular basis.
To be honest, it tastes great. If you cook it right, if you keep it cold, keep it clean, and you age it right, there is no gamey taste, and there's no fat. This is as natural as it gets. I mean, this is from field to freezer.
While in Canada, Jennifer actually killed a bear with a bow and donated the meat to the locals.
I like to think of myself as a woman who killed a bear with a bow while I was pregnant with my daughter. I'm a woman PhD chemist who killed a bear with a bow. That's important to me, and I think it's important that I get this message to my children and to everyone, because every one of those statements that I just made to you were things that either I was told weren't possible or that I thought I didn't want.
Jennifer says God used hunting to save her soul.
Sitting there in the tree stand and praying and knowing what he's done for us, I feel at peace. I feel that my soul is taken care of. If I can trust him with my soul, I can trust him with anything.
Jennifer says her book, Hunt and Gather, part cookbook, part testimony, is her thank you letter to God, and includes delicious recipes from her popular butternut squash soup to numerous ways to cook venison and whole grains. But Jennifer cautions that while yes, God healed her, she had to make the necessary changes to her diet.
You have to make a commitment to yourself, to be good to yourself. And I think that that's, it can be difficult. Now that I'm a mom, I know how busy people are, and it's important to spend time with your family and your friends, but you've got to make time for yourself because you're worth it. You know, he wants you to have a great and, you know, healthy life.
Wendy Griffith, CBN News, Blacksburg, Virginia.
That is an amazing story. It's not just about a woman killing a bear with a bow and arrow or a woman killing a bear while she's pregnant. It has some amazing information in her book about just eating healthy. The book is called Hunt and Gather. It's actually pretty beautiful, and you can learn more about Jennifer and how to get her book at our website, cbnnews.com. The Healing Powers of Whole Grains, Lean Meat, and Prayer.
You were getting anxious to go out and go hunting.
Well, I grew up in a family of hunters, and I know that, yes.
Really?
A little bit when I was younger. I never did bow and arrow, but my dad always, you know, we ate rabbit, we had venison sausages.
Are really
pretty
good.
Amazing. Yes.
Venison.
Yes.
I don't know if they call it tenderloin, but it's that.
Yeah, it's all in the
It's really
marinade,
nice.
I think. Yeah.
Well, it's also in the idea of you got to get those scent glands out of it.
I
Whoever's doing that dressing of that animal really needs to know what
Yes,
they're doing.
yeah.
And if they do it right, it can
That
be
would
really
be my
beautiful.
brothers, and they do know what they're doing. It's good stuff. Yeah.
Arise, kill, and eat. That's the message to the Apostle Peter. Bigger house, a little more cash, a prettier wife. Jay Hallman always wanted what was just out of reach. And when he couldn't get what he wanted, he just went for another bottle.
Worst thing an alcoholic and addict can have is plenty of time, plenty of money. I mean, when you're riding around on a brand new Harley picking up $70,000 checks, it's real hard to admit you have a problem.
Jay Hallman struggled with alcoholism and addiction for over 30 years. He says the cycles of addiction and rebellion started early in his life. He was raised in a Christian home but saw other kids having more fun and felt like he was missing out.
You know, I say I fell in with the wrong crowd. I didn't. I searched them out. I found them and immediately started, you know, smoking marijuana. I had met a girl. We started dating and started cutting school. So our parents basically forbid us to see each other. So our solution was to you know, we'll just run away and do, you know, I wanted to do what I wanted to do.
Away from home, his substance abuse escalated, and so did his criminal activity.
We started, you know, stealing, breaking in houses to support our drug habit and have money.
His actions landed him in juvenile detention for 9 months. Jay soon realized this wasn't the life he wanted.
I was not cut out for prison. I did not want somebody turning off my lights. And you know, that was not what it looked like on TV. This ain't cool, this ain't fun. And I was determined to do whatever I had to do, which meant not break the law.
For the next 30 years, he worked hard and had a prosperous career as a contractor. But Jay still struggled to find satisfaction.
As I was pursuing this stuff, it didn't make me happy. So I would say, I need a bigger house. I need a little more land. I need a prettier wife. I need some more money. You know, that's not my problem. This is my answer. But when I would get that, you know, I would be happy for a day, a week, or whatever. And then it was like, you know, what next?
Despite his success, Jay continued to feel empty.
I did what I needed to during the day. And, you know, by 3 or 4 o'clock, man, I just wanted to escape. So I started abusing prescription drugs with alcohol to get me to just oblivion. You know, I just didn't want to feel, I didn't want to think. I mean, I ain't gonna say I wanted to die, but I didn't care if I lived.
He eventually became verbally abusive towards his wife. As the relationship unraveled, for the first time since he was a child, Jay cried out to God for help.
And I said, God, get my attention. Help me figure out what's wrong with me, and then help me do something about it.
Soon after that prayer, Jay's wife had enough and left him. He was devastated and tried to drink the pain away. Jay says that's when God finally got his attention.
I drank for a few days, got really drunk, and then just a voice in my head, which I know is God, just simply laid it upon my heart as, do you think drinking could be your problem? Do you think maybe you're drinking too much? And so I decided, okay, this is what I'll do. I'll cut out. I'll just drink beer. I'll just drink a couple beers. I only did that for like a night. There again, a voice, I know it was God, clear as day, said, you're not gonna be able to do it like that, Jay. You're not. You will fail. You will go right back to it. If you wanna quit, you gotta do it. So I woke up that morning, I got rid of all the alcohol in the refrigerator, dumped all the liquor down the sink, and I said, I'm done.
Even though the alcohol was gone, the pain wasn't.
I was just in mental distress. I mean, I felt like it was surreal, you know, not drinking and not knowing and the fear. And I needed some consoling, and something said, hey man, turn on CBN. The lady was praying and asked if you wanted to give your life back to God. And I knew that was my only choice. So I said a prayer, you know, right there on my living room floor. And I asked God to come in my life. And he did. And I ain't gonna say it was immediate peace and comfort, but I felt like I had a chance.
After that day, Jay never returned to his old lifestyle. He began attending a recovery program where he grew in his faith and understanding of God.
He let me find out what was wrong with me, as I was a godless alcoholic. And he gave me the solution. He led me to the church, and through that I got a fellowship of Christian people that are trying to live a different way, that support me, that I can go to, that have helped me heal.
Now Jay can see clearly how God is working in his life.
He's the only good in me. If I'm kind, loving, thoughtful, then I'm expressing God. If I'm mean, hateful, blaming, judging, arguing, retaliating, then that's the selfishness. I'm not portraying God in me.
Today, he serves in his church and leads a support group at a local prison.
The lifestyle I lived, I should be dead. And a lot of people that lived it are. I'm so thankful God spoke to my heart and rescued me from the prison of self and alcoholism that I was in. You know, I'm thankful that he showed me a different way to live.
And he can show you a different way to live, a better way to live, a way that leads to life, that doesn't lead to destruction, that doesn't lead to you looking in the mirror going, who am I and what have I become? You can be free. You can have a life of peace. You can have a life of joy. You can finally discover your purpose, what you were made for. We were made for fellowship with him. What does he want? He wants to come down in the cool of the evening and talk with us, share life with us. That's what he wants. But we want it our way, don't we? We want to, prove that somehow we know what we're doing. Here's Jay, and he's starting out just as a teenager saying, well, I've got a better way, and if you're going to put limits on me, then I'm going to run away, and I'm going to do my own thing. And that ends up in jail, and then he says, well, I'm not going to violate the law anymore. I'm going to do everything legally. But then it was this endless cycle of consumption, and whether that was consumption of alcohol or consumption of houses or land. If I get this new thing, then I'll be happy. And he found out it doesn't work that way. It never leads to contentment. That acquisition only leads to more acquisition. And the hunger never gets filled up. It never gets satisfied. It never comes to an end. Here's the great news. Jesus can fill every one of those needs. He can make you new again. He can give you a life of righteousness. Isn't that amazing? He can make you righteous. He can give you peace. He can fill you with joy unspeakable and full of glory. That's the promise of the Bible. That's his promise. And he backs up his word to perform it. If you are sick and tired of being sick and tired, come to him right now. Let all of the things that you're doing, realize they can all pass away, and behold, all things can be made new in you. He has that kind of power. What is he waiting for? He's waiting for your invitation. He's waiting for you to ask for it. He's waiting for you to surrender, where you finally say, not my way, God. Let your way. I want to try your way. Could you show me? Could you show me what to do, how to live, how to act, how to be what you want me to be? Can you show me? If you pray that with all of your heart, just as Jay did, he did it on the floor of his living room. You can do it right where you are, right now. Let's pray together and let God do for you what he did for Jay. He's no respecter of persons. He will honor his word for you. He will come to you if you just ask. Let's pray. Jesus. Say his name. Say it out loud. Jesus. I come to you And Jesus, I want to be all in. I don't like what I'm doing. I don't like what I've become. Could you set me free? Could you forgive me? Could you change me from my innermost being, where I no longer have those compulsions, and I no longer have that condemnation. I no longer have that guilt. Could you set me free from all of it? And Jesus, if you do this for me, I want to follow you all the days of my life. Be with me. Come into my heart, for I ask it in Jesus' name. Amen. If you prayed with me, there's one more thing I want you to do. I want you to let me know. The Bible says that when you believe in your heart and then confess with your mouth, you shall be saved. We've made that very easy for you. All you have to do is pick up the phone, call us, 1-800-700-7000. When you call, we've got a free packet for you. It's called A New Day. You can download a copy. We can also mail you a physical copy if you want that. You can get it by going to cbn.com/anewday, or you can call us, 1-800-700-7000.
Welcome back to the 700 Club for this CBN News break. Another lower than expected jobs report today. The government reporting 199,000 new jobs were added in December, far below the expected estimate of more than 400,000. But overall, the unemployment rate dropped to 3.9%. A devastating drought is creating a food crisis in parts of northern Kenya. One remote community which depends on raising and selling livestock is suffering because the animals are malnourished and dying. Gamado's family lost more than 50 goats and camels, and she and her children were facing starvation. Thankfully, CBN's Operation Blessing delivered a large shipment of food to the village. Residents sang and gave thanks to God as every family received food to help them to get through this crisis. You can learn more about Operation Blessing by visiting ob.org.
Well, if you're like millions of Americans, you made a New Year's resolution. And if you're like many of those Americans, you may have already given up on your goal. Well, whether it's get in shape or spend less or read more, how can you make a plan and then stick to it? Pastor Mark Batterson has that answer.
New York Times best-selling author and pastor of National Community Church in Washington, D.C., Mark Batterson, has inspired millions with his biblical teaching. In his latest book, Do It for a Day, Batterson helps us change our destiny by showing us how to make or break any habit, one step at a time.
You run a marathon 1 mile at a time. You write a book 1 page at a time. All of that, you do it 1 day at a time. So ready or not, here we go.
Pastor Mark Batterson joins us now. And Mark, we welcome you back to the program via Skype. It's good to have you with us today.
It is always a joy, Terry. Thanks so much.
Well, this book, Do It for a Day, makes a pretty bold promise. Make or break any habit in 30 days. So what's the first step toward doing that?
Well, you have to pick a habit, any habit, and then you have to make it measurable, meaningful, maintainable. But you have to identify, and you've got to be really specific about it.
You just mentioned measuring and maintaining. There are 3 M's that you discussed that we need to put into practice. Go into that a little bit for us.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the measurable piece is you've got to count calories. You've got to map miles. If it's not measurable, it's really a hope, not a habit. And so that's the first step. And then I think it's got to be meaningful, Terry. It's got to be something that it almost has to become part of your identity. You know, a few years ago, I ran a marathon, and I did it to celebrate God healing my lungs, and I share that story in the book. But, you know, part of what makes something meaningful is you've got to take it on as an identity. I'm not just running, I'm a runner. I'm not just trying to write a book. I'm a writer. You've got to begin to understand that this is who you are and not just something that you do. And then finally, you've got to make it maintainable. You've got to take those God-sized goals and reverse engineer them into daily habits. And then you've got to do it one day at a time.
You also write in the book about the domino effect and what that can teach us about making or breaking a habit. Share that if you would.
Yeah, well, this is a word of encouragement for someone. Don't despise the day of small beginnings. A domino is able to knock over another domino that's 1.5 times its size. In other words, a 2-inch domino can knock over a 3-inch domino. 3-inch domino can knock over a 4.5-inch domino. By the time you get to that 18th domino, Terry, you could knock over the Leaning Tower of Pisa. And so the idea here is you've got to start small. I really believe if you do little things like they're big things, God has a way of doing big things like they're little things. And so go ahead and dream big. In fact, show me the size of your dream. I'll show you the size of your God. But you have to start small. Mm-hmm. And so don't be afraid of doing that. Every book, you write one word at a time, a marathon, 1 mile at a time, whatever it is, start small, stay consistent. And the book is really designed to help us do that over a 30-day period.
Do you think one of the things that causes most people to maybe fall short of the mark they set for themselves, especially at the beginning of a new year, is that they don't actually have a plan? They have a hope, they have a wish, but that doesn't get you very far. You wind up falling back into your old habits. Is that the biggest issue?
Yeah, I think that failing to plan is planning to fail. And so when I ran that marathon, Terry, I needed a training plan. It took 6 months. It was 72 training runs, 475 miles. But here's another great example. A number of years ago, I heard the theologian J.I. Packer. He kind of challenged me with something he said. He said, every Christian worth their salt reads the Bible from cover to cover every year. And I was a little bit convicted at first. And then I realized, you know what? I need a reading plan. And so a daily Bible reading plan would be a great example of you can read through the New Testament, through the entire Bible, but it really is going to take a plan. Instead of that old open the Bible point and just start wherever you're at. I think we need to be a little bit more intentional about getting into God's word and getting God's word into us. And so you need to plan the work and work the plan.
You refer to the Sermon on the Mount as a master class on the habit cycle. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, well, 6 times Jesus says, you have heard that it was said, but I tell you. And so I would call these counter habits. Now, theologians would call them the antitheses, but the bottom line, it boils down to this: love your enemies, pray for those who persecute you, bless those who curse you, turn the other cheek, go the extra mile, and give the shirt off of your back. Terry, nothing natural about those things. When someone slaps me, I want to slap back. What is Jesus doing here? He's identifying the triggers. He's identifying the prompt. He's interrupting the pattern, and then he's reimagining the reward. And so it's almost like he is recreating or reconditioning reflexes. And so I might suggest that before B.F. Skinner came along and told us about this habit cycle, maybe, just maybe, Jesus knew something about it. In fact, I think you see it right there in the Sermon on the Mount.
One of the first things that you stress is to get off the grid. How important is it to retreat, and what are some ways that we can do that?
Yeah, I think I live by a little formula: change of pace plus change of place equals change of perspective. It's amazing, isn't it? The way that Jesus would get off the grid. He would retreat 40 days in the wilderness. He would often walk the beach or climb the mountain. And we've got to figure out, with all of the white noise in culture, here's an idea: do a silent retreat. Or my wife and I often day off, phone off. And so finding ways to mix things up. Routine is the key to spiritual growth, but once a routine becomes routine, you have to change the routine. And so I dive into some of that in the book and hopefully give some helpful ways that we can do that.
Well, I want all of you who are watching to know you can get more great tips by reading Mark's brand new book. It's called Do It for a Day: How to Make or Break Any Habit in 30 Days, and it's available nationwide. Mark, as always, thank you so much. You always bring a great word.
Thanks so much. God bless.
You too. Gordon?
Shanti and Claudia were down to their last $2. Soon, this couple had to file for bankruptcy. Then, at their lowest point, they decided to do something counterintuitive. This is how it led to a total turnaround.
When Shanti and Claudia moved from Florida to Virginia for a new job, they had nothing but high hopes for their future.
We were ready for a new change for our family. Although we were leaving behind many family members and friends, it was an exciting time.
The couple rented a house while they put their old home on the market. Unfortunately, it was 2007 and the housing market was slowing down. Now they had to pay for both a mortgage and their rent.
You have to always be 2 steps in trying to figure out what you're going to do. So there's not a lot of peace in it when you're just depending on yourself.
In a short time, Shanti saw his commission-based income wane. As the bills mounted, they took out loans and maxed out credit cards just to meet monthly expenses.
I bought things when I knew that I didn't have the money to pay back the credit cards. We started using loans to pay the bills on the house in Florida. Things were really just getting out of control.
At one point, they were down to their last $2.
We just couldn't pay anything anymore, and it was scary because we didn't know what we were going to do.
By now, they dropped the asking price for their home down to half of what they still owed, but it still wouldn't sell. Soon, their house was in foreclosure, and before long, they had to file for bankruptcy.
You have nothing, and you need that monkey off your back. And so that was a very low point for sure.
They knew they couldn't get out of their financial mess themselves. So they prayed to God and decided to tithe.
We realized that we needed to be obedient to God.
Even when we didn't have anything, we still tithed. And it felt right to tithe.
They also began selling their personal belongings. They continued to trust God to provide. Then, a few months later, they finally saw the turnaround they'd been praying for.
The jobs just started pouring in for Shanti, and everything just started taking off. We knew that it was God that, provided for us at that moment. It was amazing to have extra money.
More clients, more sales. It's a miracle. It's awesome. I wasn't scrambling to get to the bank to pay the bills. They were paid.
Shanti and Claudia were able to save again, and they increased their giving. Claudia also started watching the 700 Club, and they became partners.
I liked everything that CBN did. Disaster relief, surgeries for kids. They seemed to just be all over the place helping people, and I wanted to be part of that.
Today, Shanti and Claudia rebuilt their credit and have since bought a new home. Their income has doubled, and they currently give at the founders level. They love to give, and they love the joy of being obedient to God.
If you just walk in faith, give your tithe, give your gifts, He will take care of you.
He absolutely will take care of you. And that's the promise from the Bible. You find it in the first chapter of Isaiah. If you will only obey me and let me help you, then you will have plenty. That wonderful couple learned that. And they said, well, let's try obedience. Let's do it God's way. And when you do it God's way, wonderful things will happen. He's able to make streams in the desert for you. He can do all things. When he says, I will pour out a blessing you cannot contain, he absolutely means it. The start of this year, if you want to start tithing, you want to start giving, All you have to do is give us a call, 1-800-700-7000. Just say, I want to become a member of the 700 Club. Now, when you join, here's some wonderful things that happen. A portion of every gift goes into the work of Operation Blessing to help people here, right here in the United States and around the world. Another portion goes into the work of CBN International to preach the gospel around the world. You're a part of everything we do when you join the 700 Club. So if that's you, give us a call, 1-800-700-7000. Just say, I want to join. Now, how much is it? It's just $20 a month. That's 65 cents a day. Some of you can join higher levels. We have 700 Club Gold at $40 a month. 1,000 Club is $1,000 a year, and that breaks out to $84 a month. Then when you call with your pledge and say, I want to join, I've got something for you. It's a wonderful DVD, The Nearness of Heaven. Stories of people who have died, gone to heaven, and then miraculously come back in their bodies, and they've got some wonderful stories to tell. And then Ashley and I have a discussion about what did Jesus mean by the kingdom of heaven is at hand? What does it mean to pray that God's will would be done on earth as it is in heaven? We don't have to wait for some sweet by and by. We can have the presence of heaven right here, right now. All we have to do is pray it in. If you want it, it's yours when you join. 1-800-700-7000. Well, we got some time for some emails, so what's the first one?
The first one comes from Casey, who says, I do love your TV show. My life had been going great until last August. I normally walk 2 to 3 miles a day. In the last 90 days, I've become half paralyzed with a diagnosis of ALS. Why did God pull the carpet out from under me? Please tell me this.
Casey, I'm so sorry for this. I'm so sorry that you've got ALS. I'm so sorry for the diagnosis. But here's something for you. Don't blame God for it. God is not the author of your disease. What is He the author of? He's the author of your healing. So turn this whole equation around. Why did this happen? Well, you can get into a whole lot of whys and wherefores and, you know, what's going on. But boy, the more you get into God, you're just not running the universe right today. The more you're missing out. I encourage you to read the 9th chapter of the Gospel of John. In there, the disciples of Jesus. So these aren't unbelievers, and these aren't Pharisees, and these aren't people trying to trip him up. These are the disciples, and they're coming to him with a theological question because they've read the Torah, and they know that, you know, God, you know, if you're not obedient to Torah law, if you're sinning, then diseases can come upon you. So they bring to him a man born blind, and they have the theological question. Who sinned? Was it this man, or was it his parents? And in that question, there's a justice. This isn't just. Because if it's his parents' sin, why is it just that the punishment be visited on the son? And if he sinned, well, he hasn't had an opportunity to sin. So why is he born blind? It just didn't make sense to them. I love the answer Jesus gave. And let it be your answer, Casey. This happened that the glory of the Lord would be revealed. When bad things happen to us, it's very natural, very human to start blaming certain things. Job's friends went at it. They said, you know, Job, you've got to confess your sin. And he's saying, no, I was righteous. I was doing everything right. When you understand that these things happen so the glory of the Lord would be revealed. Jesus promised in this world we would have trouble. So, okay, but be of good cheer, for I have overcome the world. Let him overcome through this. Keep looking for how his glory can be revealed in you. And when you have that thought, you have the victory even from the moment you think it. Here's a word from Deuteronomy chapter 31. The Lord himself goes before you and will be with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you. God bless you. We'll see you again on Monday.